order to work toward Judy's success in our sessions. And I'm going to, well, first of all, we'll talk a little bit about the WebEx process. We use WebEx for our interactive, our webinar type of tool in the WebEx that is available to us through Canvas. And so within WebEx, there are several different formats. One is what's referred to as Meeting Center, which you use with a small group. The one that's Training Center is what you would use for a whole class, particularly for synchronous sessions. I've done those several times. And the My WebEx is for one-on-one meetings, virtual office hours, or anytime you need to connect with someone in a one-on-one basis. But what we are using for this today is called Event Center, and it's set up for large groups. And while we are not exactly a large group, we could be. It could be for a really large group. And so a little bit more about what that means. Within WebEx events, Stephanie is our moderator and our host for today, and that means that she is the one who is coordinating all of our online guests and is your personal, I refer to it as a concierge for the session. As the presenter, I will be sharing my content and be presenting, and I'll be sharing my screen and doing the talking. As participants, you have the capability of using the chat room to share with others in the online version. And the host, Stephanie, can unmute you to speak. And so now I'm going to ask her to do that for us right now, because we have some guests with us today, and I would like everyone, both those online and those in any of the rooms, to do that. And I'm going to say, first of all, I think Jade is in Davie, and Jade, you usually have some others there with you. So if they could at least just give their name, and if they're not, what school or college or department they are with, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
It's pretty slow today. We don't have just me, Joe, and Mario here today.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So, hi, Mario. Hi, Joe. Hi, Jade. I'm glad that all of you all are sharing with us. And so we have some others joining online. I see Claudia. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Claudia Morrison, and I am from the Language, Linguistics, and Comparative Literature department. I'm a TGA, and I am very excited to have this experience because this is my first time.
All right, great. And are you in where, in your own office or somewhere else on campus today?
I am home.
Oh, good. Good for you. Enjoy. All right.
Thank you.
And, yeah, thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking the time to join us from home. I see Dominica. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Dominica Derivium, and I am the Broward College South Campus Senior Instructional Designer.
Oh, wonderful.
As well as an adjunct for Italian and French.
For Italian and French. Wow. Okay. So you and Claudia have a lot in common then.
Yeah, sounds like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. George, would you say hello to everyone, please? Okay. And George may not have a mic, but we're glad to have George Grunfeld with us. He has been in our e-certification workshop before and tends to join in quite a few of our sessions. So Heidi, could you introduce yourself, please?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I see a lot of microphones crossed out, several icons. So, oh, the one down here is the real one, I think. Okay, and it's
okay.
Yeah, my name is Heidi Keller, and I work at Broward College North Campus as a senior instructional designer for blended blended courses.
Okay, okay. Thank you for joining us, Heidi. And with both you and Dominica, I understand that you all also offer PD sessions. So if at some point you will send us a link to those, that would be helpful to have as well. Thanks. Lisa.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Well, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Lisa DeRusso. I'm calling in from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which is where I live. I work, as many of you know, at FAU in the Center for eLearning, and I work in professional development and communities of practice, and I absolutely love these sessions because they allow me to connect with you folks, with colleagues who I would not have an opportunity to connect with if I didn't have the sessions. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here once again. Thank you.
And we are grateful for that as well. Thank you. Nicole.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. So my name is Nicole. I'm an instructional designer at the Center for eLearning, and I get to work with wonderful people who are on this WebEx with us. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And thanks for your valuable input. Stuart, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Sure. My name is Dr. Stuart Myro. I'm an adjunct in the Department of Health Administration at FAU. And this is all very, very new to me, as Judy will attest to.
But you're doing really well. And Stuart is a retired physician, so he brings that background and experience with him to this as well. Thank you. And Wendy. Oh, okay. I saw a quick message there. And my doggies, she's joining with her doggies, so she's not using her mic with Broward College Center for Teaching Excellence. And so we're delighted to have you with us as well. Thank you. Thanks for all of you for joining in. And there will be several times where I will invite you to open your mic and speak up. The session today, as I said, is on alignment and using the Bloom's taxonomy verbs for objectives, and then showing how we align those objectives within a course in order to provide a good experience for our students. So I understand there's someone else in Davie. Jump right in, please.
Hello, my name is Olu Jare. I'm an adjunct professor at Broward College at FAU.
Okay. Super. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate all of you from Broward College joining in. It's excellent. We appreciate that. Thank you. So, we're speaking particularly about alignment today because several of you who are in the session are in our e-certification workshop, and know that, by the way, anyone from Broward College, if you have faculty members that you would like to have join in that workshop, any of us would be glad to offer some information for you about that. But at this stage in the workshop, we have several who are in the process of developing objectives and putting together their blueprint. So we are offering this session to try to give a little bit of insight and some of the why behind what we do. And so we're going to be, as we go through this, we look at how we plan those things, think about the action verbs that we use and how the course flows. We're also going to be taking a look at criteria that we add to the action verbs in order to make those objectives effective, and we're going to create a sample module. But first, I thought it would be a fun time for me to share a recipe with you. So here's what I'm going to give you the instructions for what you need to do. First of all, on the stove in a saucepan, you want to put the water and the butter and the cocoa and let them come to a boil. Melt the butter and let it come to a boil. And while you're doing that, in the mixing bowl, put in your flour and your sugar. And then when the stuff in the saucepan is ready, you want to add the water. You add all of that into the mixing bowl. You got to be careful when you do that because it can splatter out. I wind up with stuff all over me. So, and then while that's mixing up, in another little, like a measuring cup, you're going to put the buttermilk and the baking soda and then add vinegar in. Now, if you have any idea, any chemistry background, then you know what's going to happen when you add the vinegar in there with the baking soda. You have to work fast and dump it right into the mixing bowl. While you're mixing that up, take your eggs and your vanilla and kind of stir them around a little bit and then put that into the mixing bowl. Then you put all of this in the pan and bake it. While it's baking, you're going to go back to the saucepan on the stove and put the buttermilk and the cocoa and some milk and some vanilla, and then carefully put in the confectioner's sugar. So once you've taken that out of the oven and let it about 3 minutes, then you're going to take the other stuff and spread it on top. It just kind of melts right in. So sounds yummy, right? Do you have a visual of what it is you're creating? Anybody have any idea? Is this what you visualized? This is a recipe that I have been known for. However, was I very effective in telling you how to make it happen? I think probably not. So I'm going to invite you to speak up and give me some other experiences, times that you felt like you were not totally able to complete a task. And think about that and think about why you weren't able to complete it. Why were you not able to at least visualize, if not create, what I just told you about making? And I see Heidi has a comment. Stephanie, can you, or no, Heidi was, no, it's Wendy that didn't have her mic on. So Heidi, if you'd like to speak up.
Yes.
Okay.
The first couple things that come to mind have definite similarities. One was I think I was way too young to try and build an actual airplane, a remote control airplane.
Yeah.
It had a lot of steps, and it was not like building one that doesn't fly. You know, one of the real hobbyist remote control airplanes. And I glued things on backwards and the wrong way, and I wanted to build it so badly, and I just couldn't do it because it was too many steps. It was too complicated for me to take the first step and do it correctly. Okay. And I mean, a similar thing happened to me when I was moved up to a document specialist from working in the labeling department in a biomedical company, and it was the same type of scenario where I was just thrown in, and it was a very complex, multi-step thing that I had to do correctly, that the first step in, I already was making mistakes.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So not having enough information to get the right start is what I'm hearing, right?
Incredibly unempowered.
That's a good term. That's a good term. I have it coming up a little bit later on. Thank you for using that. Anybody else want to share anything? Well, clearly, I did not give you enough information as we started out, and this is something that I created a while back, because essentially what we're talking about is the fact that we have to know where it is we want to go in order to determine how to get there. And so let's then go back and take a look at what we're going to be talking about. Planning out our courses, our modules within the courses, thinking about the action verbs that we use in those objectives, and how that course is going to flow, particularly if we make those connections on the action verbs in order and provide criteria, and then we're going to take a look, time permitting, at creating a sample module. So let's let's open our mics and talk about when you start planning for a course / module for a course, where do you begin? Please speak up.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I like if I'm planning for the whole course, I like to think about the students and the best case for them in terms of the content that they need to learn and the skills that they need to be able to apply. And I sort of list them out. So like the best case scenario would be, and I create the sample student in my mind. And sometimes, because we have diverse classrooms, right, with students with varying abilities, skills, and backgrounds and knowledge and all that. And so I try to think about all of those types of students in addition to the best outcome for one student. So, and then I sort of write it down and work backwards from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Backwards, that's a key word coming up as well. Thank you. Anybody else want to join in? Where do you start when you're planning a course and or planning a module? Heidi?
Okay, sorry. Well, from the senior instructional designer point of view, we kind of hone right in on the course outline. We want to make sure the instructor has course outline in hand.
Oh, right. Excellent. Yes. And essentially we work it the same way. We help them develop that course outline in a document that I'll be sharing with you a little bit later on, but I suspect it's almost exactly the same concept and same process. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. And so I think I'm talking to the choir here, so I'm going to say, what if you could create something that allows you to immediately know if your learners got it? What might that look like? And so I have a message from Stephanie that we have comments from George and Domenica. So please either jump right in, open your mics, or if you have a comment, I can read it through, or Stephanie can share it with us, whichever works easiest for you. I know Domenica has a mic and would be glad to speak. Okay. Okay, thank you, George. I see that your microphone is not functioning, and that's perfectly okay. You can type in there. All right. Stephanie, can you unmute Domenica for us?
There we go. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was chiming in along with Heidi to say, start with the course outline when it comes to developing your modules. But in response to this question here, it makes me think of the flipped classroom model, where your students come in, already with a kind of like a baseline of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or adaptive learning, for that matter.
Right. Yeah. That is an ideal. And so what I'm going to do is, I don't know if anyone had a chance to go into the Padlet. I'm going to go over there, and we can either jump in there or talk about it instead of typing in there. Going to my web browser and going to my, I will open that up while we're thinking about and talking about. Think about the assessments, the activities, anything that your learners produce, and then think about if those things provide the evidence that you need. And I will jump into my into the Padlet while we are waiting, while you're doing that. The activities and assessments, things that your learners produce. And I know Lisa has commented on here. everyone else is welcome to jump in there and comment or open your mics and comment. Lisa, you want to share yours?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, keeping in mind that, we're oftentimes working with upwards 30, 40 students in a class on, in terms of online, it can be very difficult to create those authentic pieces of assessment because of the timing issue, right? We'd have to read them all and so on. But I do still believe that when we have students create those authentic assessment pieces that they can actually apply to the field, I think that's a win-win for both the student and the faculty. So, for example, if I'm teaching a marketing class and it's a initial class, or even if I'm teaching a student teaching class, like a very basic foundational teaching class for elementary teachers, I may have them create a lesson showing the theory, showing some of what they've learned in this piece of the module or this part of the class. And it's authentic in the sense that it's something that teachers do, right? So in a marketing class, you have to create a marketing plan or something, because that's what you do when you're involved in marketing. You have to be able to do that. And so it's important that the students, from my perspective, it's important that we can get that type of experience in the class for the students. And that's a great way to expose them to, really the relevance of what they need to know and be able to do. And then it's a great way for us to measure and evaluate their growth.
Yeah, and clearly you've answered that second question as well, that those things definitely provide you with evidence that they either know the components of the marketing plan, know the components of a lesson plan, or they have clearly missed something, but the evidence is there, so that you can tell at a glance what they have missed and what they have gotten.
Yeah. And I just want to say one more thing. So, like milestones can, as us know, milestones can be broken up throughout. So let's say we want our students at the end of that course to create a marketing plan that involves several key aspects or pieces of that marketing plan, a SWOT analysis, target market, so on and so on. And so throughout the course, we're introducing new concepts. We're having the students practice those new skills. And it's all going towards them creating an authentic marketing plan that they build essentially throughout the course in these milestones.
Right.
And it's not so overwhelming for the students. It's not so overwhelming for us.
Yeah. And
it's a great way to align all of those objectives. And I can't remember who was talking. Someone who said they were an instructional designer. I like the blueprint idea or the plan idea. I like creating those for students as well, to help them see throughout the course what they, the evidence piece that they need to show.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So I'm going to take us back in, but invite anyone else who would like to add in, either to go into the Padlet and comment, or just speak up and think about the evidence that your activities, your assessments, the things that your learners produce. Think about the evidence that they provide for you. I have my little image. I have to throw this in at some point, but thinking about the evidence that allows us to make sure that our students are definitely on track. Anybody else want to join in? Okay, so essentially what we are sharing with you today is what I lovingly refer to as some gifts for you. And the gifts are things for you to use, but with your students, and to assure that your students have success. So what we are sharing with you, and I believe it was Heidi that mentioned empowerment. That's exactly what we are sharing with the tools that we're talking about today, because the common language, being able to talk about the expectations, building on the scaffolding is one of the terms that we use, taking the information and building on it, and going from the basic into the complex and concrete into abstract. And so essentially, what I am referring to here is Bloom's taxonomy, which is the first thing that we share. We talk about using the tools, and the link down there is one that I will provide for you with the references at the end, and it's also provided in our workshop. Being able to take the things that we are doing and use them to build on each other throughout the process. And so we use the action verbs from Bloom's taxonomy in order to write those objectives. And so finishing the sentence, by the end of this course or module or section, however you phrase it, my students will, and we make a reference to fuzzy verbs, present a clear understanding of listening concepts. That's what we lovingly refer to as a fuzzy verb, because we aren't able to really identify what our students understand. And we have, as I'm sure those of you, the designers with Broward also, we have faculty come in that feel very comfortable with an objective that says my students are going to understand. And so it's a little difficult to move them into what is it they're going to do to show you that they understand. And so what I have put in here, and I will be glad to take anybody else's suggestion on these. And the one that I have on the understanding of listening concepts is to demonstrate listening concepts as they apply to. And of course, with listening concepts, we have a couple of you who are in language skills. You would definitely know if they're demonstrating those listening concepts. You definitely know if they have gotten what they're supposed to get out of it. Any comments on how that works especially from our language people, Claudia and I believe Wendy? No, Heidi was the other language person. You want to jump in there, Claudia, with the comments?
Well, for the first one, with the demonstrate listening concepts as they apply to Spanish in the particular topic that we're covering.
Sure.
One way that we can do it is just being able to have a short dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And I know that the language courses are ones that have to be very specific about exactly what you want your students to do at the end of it. Yeah, thank you. And the listening concepts could also have to do with music courses as well. So the second one that I have is what my students will interact effectively within groups to accomplish tasks. Not very clear about what you mean by interacting. So the one that I have put in here, and I invite anyone to add another one or put something else, is create a presentation or a project through a cooperative learning activity, because that will give you a clear indication of how effectively they were able to interact within the group. We also offer a group charter, a team charter, for them to clearly specify how they're going to interact. Any comments about effective objectives for group projects? We typically thank you that's a good question. We typically write our objectives from the student perspective, so that the students know exactly what the expectation is. And the other one that I put for the group project is discuss the advantages and disadvantages of group work in an online course so that they are starting to think about why we're doing this. What's the end result? So would anyone like to jump in on my third one? Understand America's economic system. That's a huge one. I wonder if anyone actually has a thorough understanding of it. So how would you phrase that if you're teaching an economics course? How would you put that an objective so that you can move your students toward that goal of understanding? Okay, so we have someone in Davy and Heidi. Jump right in there. Davy, would that be whom in Davy? Mario?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would say maybe compare and contrast America's economic system with another country's economic system.
Excellent. Excellent. And as an economics instructor, then you would be specific about what aspect of that system you wanted them to compare, right?
Maybe not, depending on. You could stress that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. This is Olu?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for adding that in, because clearly I wasn't on that track. So compare and contrast is an excellent objective for figuring out how we can identify what things we do know and understand. And Heidi was going to add something in.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually science. Domenica is the comparative literature. She's actually getting formal graduate education right now in comparative lit.
Oh, excellent.
Yes, yes. So she and who is it? Who's the other comparative lit person? Should definitely connect. Claudia.
Yes.
Have a lot to talk about. But for us, it's structure and function, So what define I'm not economics, the different sectors that comprise the economic system, the United States economic system, and then I guess describe how they influence each other, how they function as part of the system.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, yes.
So identify and describe, I guess.
So identify and describe are in a fairly low level,
yeah.
But you have but what you're explaining to me is a much. It seems to me like it comes more into apply even.
Okay. Okay.
Because if I can identify and describe the structure and the function, then I can figure out how to apply it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thank you. These are excellent ones, and clearly show how we use those Bloom's verbs. And so I'm going to share another tool with you, and this comes from one of our participants today. Lisa has been developing and continues to develop what she refers to as a criteria for success, so that we can, and I tried to put some of these criteria in as I wrote some of those objectives. So Lisa, if you would like to jump in and give us a little bit of background for it.
Sure. Thanks, Judy. So the criteria for success, the concept is widely used when we really want to summarize those key aspects of the objectives that the students must be made aware of in order to meet the overall learning outcome. So we could simply say, we could list an objective that says complete the map of the United States, or fill in the states in the map, period, right? Just to give you an example. But what we're not doing when we actually just say fill in the map is we're not giving them those specific pieces that sort of raise the bar for them. So I I took some time to take some Bloom's verbs you see on the left and came up with some what I would call a criteria for success, and I just filled it in on the side. So what you have here are examples of how you can take your own content and skill that the student must show they know and can do, and literally fill in this template. So the student would analyze some content for their application to, and then there would be the relevance to the course.
Yeah.
Does that help? Was that clear? I'm not sure if it was.
Yeah, it is. And I have the whole document open on my computer if we need to. Otherwise, I will be more than happy to send it out to everyone when we finish with this session.
And this is not like a limited list, right?
Oh, no.
You just keep going. I've just been adding to it for a while. And
yeah.
It's an easy go-to sheet, so that if I'm trying to get a nice high-level rigor for my students, which I do, and I want to be very clear for them what they need to show and what they need to be able to do. And then I give them that criteria, that reason, as I connect it to the class.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Judy?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Miro had a comment. I'm going to mute him now.
Thank you. All right, Stuart. Thanks.
I guess this goes back to the slide before. One of the things that I do, since I'm teaching about or in one of my courses, teaching about the healthcare delivery system in the United States, as part of their assignments, I have them write a paper discussing and basically comparing and contrasting our healthcare system to one of the other industrialized countries' healthcare systems. And Excellent. Yeah. And so that is going to give you a really clear view of what they have truly gotten from that information, the components of the two healthcare systems and how they work for the people involved, for the population. Excellent. Thank you. So just a quick review here, what we're talking about as far as building your objectives and setting them up in the module is essentially backward design, where we begin with the end in mind. We think about what it is we want them to come away with, determine what the acceptable evidence is for that, and then determine what our content and our instruction is, having to based on that evidence. So depending on learning about what I want them to be able to show me, giving them the evidence that they have gotten that information, and then what I have to do in order to get them to that point. So this is basic Wiggins and McTighe understanding by design. And so this then leads us to our second gift for you today, our blueprint. And for those of you in Broward College, I'm happy to share our blueprint template with you if you would like, although you referenced creating a course outline, and that's probably the same type of thing. The blueprint is a document that we have created, and it's a tool that shows the whole course layout. And this tool evolves as we're building a course with our faculty, but it gives a visual of where we are and what that process is. And it also gives us a visual of the flow. And I don't think we're going to get in and talk about the flow today of the course, but when you set your course up on this blueprint document, you can see where things logically flow from one to another and where you might be jumping a step and might need to add something in.
And so the process, again, is what we just talked about with the Wiggins and McTighe, beginning with the end in mind, thinking about what evidence we want them to have, putting it together in the objectives using Bloom's verbs, and then planning the content and the activities. And so I'm going to give you just a quick overview. This is a portion of the blueprint of the e-certification workshop, and this just shows the coding that we have determined, where we put under the module level objectives the reference to the course level objectives, so that we know that those things are accomplished. And then within the content and the activities, the links to the module level objective. And of course, over a period of a course, we would have several different modules in which these objectives are accomplished in different ways, so that by the end of the course, we would say, yes, our students have done this, this, and this. This is the evidence that we have that they have indeed accomplished those particular objectives. So just in a quick overview of lining things up, if indeed we think about what those desired results are, if indeed we want our participants to identify the structure for module level objectives, which is course level objectives 2, then the evidence of the success would be what they have submitted with their objectives written in a specific way, which leads to, which is a part of module 3, and it accomplishes parts of 3 of those objectives in module 3. So the action then would be for them to submit this document with those objectives on there. But the tools that we provide them to get to that point has to do with, we've got videos that talk about creating those learning objectives. We have web links to Bloom's taxonomy, so that all of these things line up and provide the evidence, provide the content and the substance for our participants to be able to use in order to accomplish the objective. And so I am not going to, I'm looking at the time, and I'm not going to take us back to the Padlet. I have in there a place for you to try out just creating the steps for doing a module. Those of you that are in the certification workshop, please connect with one of the facilitators and make sure that you have a clear perspective on how those things line up for you. And so I am going to jump into well, before that one, I will let you know that the fourth piece I had on the Padlet is thinking about the course flow. So when you look at what you have put in there as your objectives and as your activities that accomplish those objectives and as your content, does it feel like it flows effectively for you? And that's essentially all that it is. And so looking at the clock and respecting the fact that you have shared this time with us, and I truly thank each one of you for that, next week we're going to be looking at creating effective group work and teamwork. And as instructors and as course designers, we know that it's an important component in our courses, because this setting is truly the safest place for our students to really develop those skills, even though every time it comes up, we get lots of complaints. But this is where they develop those skills, because there's very little that they're going to do when they leave this protected environment that they're not going to have to be able to use effective group skills and collaborative skills with. The following week, we have using Canvas to create quizzing. And I don't know if Broward College uses Canvas or not, so we invite you to join us for that. And then the following week, we'll be looking at the pedagogy behind the idea of giving our students the opportunity to resubmit, to review what they're doing and resubmit. So I truly thank each one of you for joining us today. I have the list of references and resources here, and we will send that out to you. Thank you, Domenica. I appreciate every one of you joining us today. And again, those of you from Broward College, if you would be send us the links to yours as well. We would love to reciprocate and join in with your sessions. But we appreciate what you bring to this table with our sessions too. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining me today. And thank you for sharing this time with me. And enjoy the rest of your day. And happy 4th is coming up. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm decorated for the 4th. So thank you. Thanks. Take care.